Hi Janice, how are you?
I am good. How are
Hey,
you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for spending time with me. I really wanted to include you, especially because we've worked on so many shows together, and I've always been curious, just kind of what your process is like, and as far as like how it changes from show to show. I mean, we've done like things like Mike and Molly and Disjointed, Mom.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that we could kind of focus in on one of those shows like Mike and Molly, and you can tell us what your day was like. So
Okay,
do you mind if we start with your name and also what you do?
sure. My name is Janice Berridge. I'm a department head makeup artist for the most part. I've worked in many different positions, but always in the makeup department. And for the last since '95, it's always been television that I've been working in, sitcoms specifically.
Yeah, great. What would it be like, for example, for day one for you on a show like Mike and Molly?
The first thing that we do is we'll get the scripts
Mhm.
and we read through those, we break them down, we help to establish, we get an idea of what the character is for all of them and what we're going to need to help to create the vision that our creative producers are putting onto paper. So our goal is to visualize that, to create that image, to create that script and bring it to life for television. That's our first thing. So we do a script breakdown, and then we'll also meet with the actors to see what their specific needs are, and get an idea of who's going to be cast, what they want, what they need for makeup and hair. And we'll do tests prior to that to if there needs to be like in the hair department, if there needs to be haircuts, if there needs to be anything, if they need to have beards grown, if we need to order, if they want something like that, and our actors don't have beards, then we need to be able to put that together and order those and get them all cleaned up. So we're prepping the show prior to. We meet with the actors. We make sure that what we have works for them, and sometimes we'll do tests depending on what's needed on the show. We'll do a test prior to and get the approval from production that this is the direction that we're going. So that way, whenever we get into our first day of shooting, there's not a lot of questions. So you try to be as prepared as you can be before we get anything on camera.
Great. And how many people are typically on a team with you for a sitcom?
Two, definitely, always two.
Mhm.
Most of the time, it's going to be a three-man department. And we do share the room. Usually, we share the room with the hair department, which also has at least three people.
Mhm.
And then when we have bigger scripts where there's a lot more people, a lot more guest cards, a lot more background, we'll have what we call day players. Will come in and they will help us. So yeah, but probably a minimum of three. That seems typical.
And from my understanding, it seems like you guys each have a designated actor, a character to focus on, right? Or how does it work?
We we do. What we'll do is we'll divide up the department because we're also looking for the amount of time that we're spending with people.
Mhm.
Typically, what I'll do is we'll divide up. It's like if there's a lot of male and female. Usually, like I'll do is I'll take a man and a woman, and we'll try to do that because it doesn't take us as much time on men's makeup as it does on a woman's makeup, and so we'll try to divide that and make it evenly divided amongst our department. So it just depends. It depends on how many people are there and how many script. Like Mike and Molly, we had a fairly large group, and so that's how we divided it all up was male female, so that we could just get everybody done. Because timing is a lot. I mean, obviously, you have enough people in your crew so that you're getting the job done in the least amount of time. So you make sure that is because otherwise people are waiting for you. They're not they you don't want to spend 2, 3 hours getting makeup done while your crew is waiting to shoot. So typically we'll also come in earlier than what crew call is
Right?
so that we can already start getting the actors ready. So by the time crew comes in, maybe 30 minutes, they're setting up their scenes and everything. Our actors are ready. We're ready to shoot for the day. So that's typical that we'll come in at least, an hour to 2 hours, depending on the type of makeup that needs to be done.
Yeah,
Um,
and I see you and your team on set typically till the all the way till the end of the day.
we
So
are.
what's kind of the hours like for you, for example, for you and your team?
Well, we'll do we're at least a 12-hour day when because on sitcoms we usually have a block and shoot day,
Uh-huh.
and then we have a day where we're shooting in front of an audience.
Right.
So the typical day on a block and shoot day, we're there at least 2 hours, an hour before, and then we wrap at the end of the last scene that's being shot. And sometimes we're there about 30 minutes if we've got wigs to take off or faces to be cleaned. We'll be there a little bit longer. So it's a minimum of a 12-hour day on the block and shoot day,
Mhm.
and then on show day. Uh, I've been really lucky to work in the Chuck Lorre world. I've been really lucky. So he likes the show day to run like a play. Um, so our days are typically a little bit shorter than it may be an 8 hour day or a 10 hour day. So, but it's really a great way to shoot because they just run it like clockwork. They'll make any sort of line change in front of the audience because they're looking
Yeah.
for a reaction from them. And so we're there. Like we'll come in on show day. We'll come in like one. It's great. It's really I feel really blessed. I really do. I kind of fell into television, so I feel really blessed to be here.
Yeah, you mentioned Chuck Lorre's productions, and right now you're on Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. So
I am.
what would you say is kind of the differences between a show like that and let's say like Mom that we worked for in the past?
Well, shoot. I don't know that they're so different because again, the Chuck Lorre productions run really smoothly. We've been doing this a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a different story. It's a different story. It's a different cast. So one of the things that is I consider makeup and hair our department to be what I call the first line of defense. We create an atmosphere inside of our room that makes our actors be at ease. We have a really good time. It's really all business. We're getting a lot of stuff done, but it's really important that when our actors leave our room, they are in a really great space. They feel protected. They feel that they can create an atmosphere. They can talk inside this room and know that nothing's going to go outside of our room. We really are. It's our job, and production expects that from us. That to not have chaos, to make sure the actors are ready, that they feel comfortable inside our space, so that when they walk out onto the set, they're just ready to work. They're not thinking about anything else. They're in a good place. They're in a good place in their head. So that's our job. That's one of our things. So it's really important that when you're a part of our departments, that there's no chaos. There's no personal drama. We try to keep our own personal lives at a small part so that the room just is really peaceful. It's
Yeah.
fun and it's peaceful. And especially on whenever we were on Mike and Molly, that was such a
Obviously.
great cast, and it was really special. You could see that our actors had a great camaraderie. Everybody was so grateful to be there. We wanted to produce a really great show. And I think that was across the board. That was it. So our room was a really safe place, and it was a really fun place for our actors. And oftentimes we would find people just hanging out in our room, which is always a good sign because they felt really safe there. They felt comfortable, and it was just fun to be in. And we got to work with the actors. And one of my favorite things about working with actors is as we're doing makeup and hair, um, we start seeing the character come to life in our chair. I literally would see the change. They would come. One of my examples we worked on was Bob Hart's Abishola,
Mhm.
and Falake was a very different person when she walked in. Especially, we put wigs on her, we put her makeup, and it was amazing to watch Falake walk into the room and see Abishola walk out of it. And that was everything. That was the way she walked. It was the way she looked. It was her mannerisms. It was her tone, everything. And by the time she walked out, she really was the character. And that was one of the best things that I find in our room that we get to do is we get to see that. We get to see that character manifest, and the actor gets to lose themselves and get to be that. And that's when we really know we've done our job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention because for my experience of seeing that, what you were talking about was that on Mike and Molly, I do remember it was not only one of the loudest rooms in on stage because they were always in there, but
Yeah.
they would do the huddle and they would like
Yes.
up before the show, and I mean I
Absolutely.
would that's how I got to know you and your team as well because I would spend time there and because
Right.
it's such a clubhouse in there, so every like you wanted to be a part of it. But yeah, what would it, for example, you mentioned
You you froze. You froze.
oh, oh, okay, we're back, I think. You mentioned your team putting this together.
Hugo, I've lost you. Hugo, wait.
Okay,
Wait, you're freezing. I can't hear your questions. Oh, there you go. I think you're okay now. Okay,
better.
go ahead.
Okay, good. You were
Yes.
mentioning that it was a team process in that room. So what kind of skills do you look for when you're hiring your team?
I look for you. I do want you to be well-rounded. Yes, no beauty, no character breakdown.
Hmm.
It's important that that you understand how to work with people, how to be a team player. That's really important for me because when we have to, we need to troubleshoot, and so we need to be able to collaborate easy because our goal is no matter what happens, what if things start falling apart, it's my goal is not to focus in on what's happening, it's how to fix it.
Yeah,
And I want people around me who are good troubleshooters who and so you really want to know all your basic skills. You don't want to come in just being beauty. I need you to know character makeup. We do a little bit of special effects, so bruising, making people look sick. So this is what I call two-dimensional makeup. So it's not necessarily adding prosthetic pieces, but you need to know how to be able to create characters, maybe create cuts, work with all of those sort of things, create swells. So and then sometimes we do bring in a little bit of prosthetics, and so you want to be as well rounded as you can be, so that whatever is thrown at you, you will be able to work it out. And also be open to asking questions. If there's something that you don't know, ask because we there's plenty of it. I mean, one of my favorite things is whenever we're in the production meeting and we're talking about a scene and people are like, well, I don't know how it's going to work out. One of my favorite things is like, okay, well, let's try something. It's one of my favorite things that I ever hear from production because we
yeah,
really are trying to create something and we don't always know exactly how this is going to work. So let's figure it out. And that way I know Hall of Production is open to problem solving. They don't point fingers. They're not like going, oh, they don't know their job, but they realize that we all know enough to
right.
where we feel comfortable that we could figure anything out. And so that's what I really like inside of my room. So try to be as well rounded as you can in your experience and in your training. And yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I expect because I don't always want to follow people around to tell them what to do. I want them to have a good idea of what already the job requires
Yeah.
so that they can work it out, so that they can work with the actor. So yeah, I'm not into holding hands, but I like to work as a team to get stuff done. So yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the attitude that I typically bring to
Are you
our
there?
projects is
Boop.
just, do we have
Mm-hmm.
it's like, for example, for me,
Yeah, I'm there.
I just make sure that, I make the production designer's job easier and they don't have to worry about the
Yep.
graphics that are going on. Like that's for me to make sure I
Mm-hmm.
know what I need to do. And if I do need their help, it's because I want input on how they would like things.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, all of that, because you do want, because I do want to trust. This is like with your, with your department heads.
Mhm.
They trust your ability, they trust your creativity, because we've
Mhm.
already had these conversations. You already have a good feel of who you're working with and who
Yeah.
you're bringing into a job.
Mhm.
It's not to say also, I do actually hire a lot of people that I don't know,
Mhm.
whether they've been referred to me,
Mhm.
somebody else, hey, I worked with this person. They really have a great, and most of the time it's like, they've got a great attitude. They come in really positive, and they're very creative and their makeups are beautiful. And a lot of times I'll just hire somebody based on that because that's
Yeah.
really what I want. It's like, okay, so they can pull their own weight and they can get it. But I got to tell you, I've hired brand new people too who just got out of makeup school. And
Mhm.
because I remember how hard it was in my beginning and trying to get onto a show, trying to get work experience. So that's also something that we do try. A lot of us who've been in the business for a long time, we do try to bring in new people because yeah, because they're the next generation,
Yeah.
so they need that experience. We're not always going to be around. So you want to have people come in. You want to encourage that. You want to, and you want to pay back, people who helped me. And so I want to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up because I'd love to know like what was your first project and kind of what led you to do this type of work.
Oh, so I grew up in Texas,
Mhm.
and I whenever I first moved out, I moved into Houston with a group of friends, and we were just I was 18, 19 years old, and I was just looking for a direction. I knew that I wanted to work in the entertainment industry, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what was available to me, and a film came through town, and I got to work on that, and my roommate at the time got a job offer to move out here to California, and I really liked working on films. Again, I didn't even know a makeup artist. I didn't know that that was even a job. I didn't even know I could make money at it. I was doing local print work and everything, and I always enjoyed doing everybody's makeup because that's kind of what I ended up doing. But I didn't know it was a job. I just thought it was something for fun. And when I came out here, I found out that there were schools. There were actual makeup schools, and for beauty, for character, for prosthetics. And that's when I found out that that was what I wanted to do. And uh, 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 I wasn't able to go full time. I would take night classes. UCLA offered their extension offered at the time they offered two-dimensional makeup and character makeup and special effects. They were offering these as night courses. So I went and got my education that way because I still needed to work.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then I did a lot of free work because again, I didn't have a lot of connections. So, I needed to get hired, but I also needed experience.
Mhm.
And so I went to all of the film schools, the senior projects needed crews. And so I would call those and see if I could get on to go and get some sort of experience so that I would have set experience. One of the projects that I got to work on early on was amazing. It was a period piece. And trust me, you do everything. You go, oh, I'm just going in for hair. I did hair, I did makeup,
Yeah.
I was doing props, and I was doing a script supervisor, which I got to tell you, if you ever get an opportunity to do as a script supervisor, it changed my world because I got to see how scripts were broken down. It was one
Yeah.
of the best things that I did, and I worked hard. So never turn down a free job just because they're not going to pay you the experience that you're going to get from that. And also the people that you meet. You never know where your connections are going to come from because everybody who is on that show is trying to get into the business, and
Right.
you don't know who you're going to work with. And I actually found a lot of my jobs that I did back then that I was doing for free, those people got elevated and they remembered me and hired me for other work. So there are no small jobs. That's if you're going to remember anything, there are no small jobs. And uh, well, I don't want to tell you that story. I'll tell you that when you ask me what I tell my younger self.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, what advice would you give yourself if you were to start over?
To Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't think that you need to know everything right away. You want to come in with your skills, you want to practice, you do want to educate yourself, but but allow yourself to know that you're at the beginning, and don't don't stop yourself from actually doing it because like, oh, I don't have enough experience, I don't have enough this is when you're learning it, and do that. I mean, one of the things that, like I said before, it was like, I had to actually, I needed to work before I could go to school. I didn't have extra money. Like I still needed to pay my rent. I still needed all of that stuff. So, I would just work whatever job was available to me so that I could bring in money. And one of the things that I did was I worked at a retail store. And at the time it was Robinson's in Beverly Hills, which is no longer there. But what was really great was that, oh, I lost my light. Um, there
There
we
we
go.
go.
Uh, One of the things that was really great is there was a lot of other people who was working in that department,
Mhm.
and that I met, and then I was there for about a year, and then I started traveling for one of the cosmetic lines, and it gave me thousands of faces to work on of different ethnicities, which was
Right.
great. I had young, I had old, I had everybody. It was all sorts of skin types, which was great for me to work on. I just got to do everybody's makeup. I got to figure things out.
Uh-huh.
And then later on, once I left that department, and I was gonna, and then I got into the union, and again, I didn't have any real contacts. I had a couple of contacts in the union, and again, it's like, okay, now I need to go meet people. I need to go figure out how to get there. I went to one of my craft meetings and ran into one of the girls that I worked with at Robinson's Beverly Hills, and she hired me on my first sitcom. So you don't know where people are going to come. You don't know where your work's going to come from.
It's
So
true. Yeah, then
there
it's
are
such a
no small jobs.
it's such a small
Yeah,
world within for example, I mean, the sitcom
isn't
world.
it?
Yeah, and which also makes it fun that, we get to keep doing this together but
I
like you
think
said, you
so
never
too.
know who you're going to be
You
with
don't.
on your next project.
You don't. And you know what? And the best thing you can do is you go in with a good attitude and you treat everybody with respect, from,
Right.
from your guys who are your security guards in your parking
Mhm.
lots to your PAs. I got to tell you, you be kind to your PAs
Yeah,
because they're going to be your producers one day, and you want to be able to work with them. So, and again, it's all about creating a great atmosphere in the places
right,
that you work. And yeah, and make it fun. It's a privilege to be in this industry. It was hard to get in,
right.
and it's hard to stay in.
Yeah,
And to be able to work at something that is creative and that is fun, and that you're around all of these other people who are just trying to figure it out, so it's really great. I love it. It's like every time I drive onto the lot, there was a for I don't know, these kids these days, they may not know this reference, but there used to be this show on called The Young Rascals, and these little kids were just doing all sorts of stuff. And I remember watching it one time, and they decided to put on a play. They were like building these things out of all sorts of craziness and everything. And I just remember them. It's like, yeah, we're gonna put on a show. And I remember it every time I drive onto the lot. It's like, yeah, we're gonna put on a show. It's just fun. I feel really lucky, really privileged to be here. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
likewise.
great.
Every time those gates
Right?
open, I feel very, very excited and lucky and looking forward, like inspired.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. So good luck to all of you. But like I said, there are no small jobs. There are no small jobs. And even when you don't think that it has something to do with the entertainment industry or what you're pursuing, it actually does. Everything does. Everything is a catalog, and I remember when I first came out here meeting all of these different people from different walks, and and they were just character studies for me. It was like, some people will go, oh wow, that's a really bad makeup. It's like, no, it's not a bad makeup. It's like, look at that. And I can't tell you how many of those characters that I've met throughout the years that I've used them as a reference. I pulled them up and used them in something we were shooting in. So yeah. Yeah, everything, every experience that you have, whether it's you think it has anything to do with this industry, is a great experience, and it's going to be a piece of your pie. It's going to be a piece of your experience that you bring to your work. Yep.
That's great. Thank you, Janice.
You're
This is a
welcome.
lot
That
of
was
great
fun.
info. Yeah, and I appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always great working with you, Hugo.
Thank you, Janice. Likewise.
All right.
Okay,
Talk to you later.
bye.